Hi guys, welcome back. Honda and Suzuki has launched their 125cc BS-6 scooters in market, and actually if you're planning to buy a 125cc scooter, then these two scooters are great options. But from these two, which one should you buy? Well, this video is to help you in making that decision. If you are familiar with the comparison videos, you might already know that we have 5 factors which does cover almost every aspect of the scooters, and these are those 5 factors. And let's start with the first factor, which is the design and build quality. Both the scooters are leaning towards a classic design which appeals to the majority, and firstly from the front, the Suzuki Access 125 has a very clean panel which doesn't have much attention seeking things, but there is just the indicator and DRL combo flanked on either side, and also top centered there is a Suzuki logo. And for the headlight, well, the headlight is pretty uniquely shaped which has a retro touch, and there is a chrome border which does add a bit of classic touch. The headlight used is LED, and for the range it's really good, especially in terms of intensity, and therefore night rides are pretty safe. Now for the Activa 125, well, here the front panel is more busy with a chrome chest in the center, and just beside it on either side there is this very attractive and modern looking DRLs. This does enhance the overall look of the front panel in the Activa 125, and for the headlight, well, it looks very familiar and actually kind of dated because these headlights have been common for a long time. But it's LED, and for the range and coverage it's good, but compared to the Access 125, the one in the Access is slightly better. Then for the handlebar, even though both the scooters get the same classic scooter handlebar, the Access 125 does lack in switch controls available. There is just the dim bar bright switch, indicator toggle, horn and self start switch available in the Access 125 BS-6, and for the switches in the Activa 125 BS-6, well, surprisingly Honda has changed its strategy, and here in the Activa, on top of all these switch controls that's seen in the Access, you get a pass light switch and also an idle start stop switch. Now this switch is available only in the Deluxe variant, and on the other variants instead of this you get an engine kill switch. Now what the idle start stop switch does is that when it's turned on and you take a brief halt in traffic or for something, then the engine is automatically cut off, and when you twist the accelerator, the engine turns on. The feature worked perfectly all the time, and it's a great feature to have because it does save fuel. Then for the instrument cluster, well, both of them get the digital analog setup here, and from the two, well, based on aesthetics, I do prefer the one in the Access 125, and that's mainly because of this very sleek looking color changing Eco Assist illumination. But based on the info shown, well, here also the Activa 125 BS-6 has the upper hand with extra added informations like distance to empty, real-time mileage and average mileage. And here both these panels are operated with a single button, which is a bit hard to operate in both of the scooters. Then for the footboard, well, here both are spacious, but I felt the one in the Access 125 has extra legroom compared to the Activa 125. And for the hooks available, here both the scooters get dual hooks, but in the Activa 125 both are retractable, and actually both of them are of standard quality. And in the Access 125, well, the rear one is retractable, but the front one is not. And here, obviously, since the front one is a non-retractable one, it's of much better quality and feels very sturdy. And in the Activa, you get a glove box, which is a neat addition. But in the Access 125, instead of the glove box, there is a front pocket for carrying a water bottle or something like that. And even though based on design, the one in the Activa 125 is clean, I do prefer the one in the Access 125 based on usability. And in the Access, right next to the front pocket, you get a 2 amp USB socket, which is a good addition. But now with this new Activa, well, there isn't any USB charging socket. But for me, it's not a very big thing because usually I don't prefer to charge my phone from these ports. But if in case a situation happens where you want to charge your phone, then having one port would have been a flexible solution. And also please do note, this USB socket comes as a standard accessory for the Access 125 in the special edition. And that's the case with the classic round chrome mirror in the Access 125, which is again a standard fitting in the special edition. And in the Activa, even with the top variant, the mirrors are the usual black plastic ones. And actually that's the case with the seats too. Well, for the Activa 125, it's the same black seat in all the variants, but for the Access 125, if it's the special edition based on the color of the scooter, well, the seat color also changes. And here with the Access, this retro style seat looks pretty attractive. Then from the side, well, the Access 125 gets a big chrome 3D branding with the BS-6 and SAP sticker, and also since this is the special edition, you get a sticker for that too. But in the Activa 125, it's more cleaner because there is just the Activa 125 branding on this chrome strip, and I do like this less clutter in the Activa 125, and also based on material, I do prefer the side panel in the Activa because it's metal, but in the Access 125, well, it's fiber. And now moving to the rear section, well, both the scooters have a similarity here because the tail light does dominate, and in both the scooters, the tail light is neat looking. And just about that, well, both the scooters now have external fuel inlet, but for the Access, well, you still need your keys to open it, which doesn't make much sense. And in the Activa 125, it is this remote opening system which is double lid. And to open it, well, you can do that from the multifunction switch, and here just choose the seat option, and with the press of this switch, it opens the external lid, which is much more convenient. And one important thing here, since it's a scooter comparison, is the under seat storage, and here the Activa gets a 18-liter storage, while the Access gets a 21.8-liter storage, and the numbers does show its significance. This 21.8-liter seat storage in the Access 125 is very luxurious, and finally I can store my large size fully covered helmet in this with some extra space, while the smaller space in the Activa 125 doesn't fit in my helmet. But one very neat addition with the Activa 125 is that in the Deluxe and Alloy variant, there is this side stand engine cutoff system, and what it does is that when side stand is engaged, the engine is automatically cut off, and also you can see a warning light for the side stand in the instrument cluster, which is both missing in the Access 125. And for the pillion grab rail, well, in both the scooters, they look kinda same because of the same color choice and design, and actually both are adequately comfortable grab rails. And finally for the exhaust, I do like the compact one in the Activa 125 compared to the slightly bulky one in the Access. Now for the build quality, the Activa has a metal and fiber body, and metal is dominating, and therefore obviously the build feels more strong in the Activa 125, but still the fiber used in the Access 125 is also of good quality, and they do feel sturdy. Well, that's all for the design and build quality of both the scooters, and you're choosing one based on design varies based on individuals. And for me, I'm not going to pick one just based on design, but if it's based on design, the features available, and also based on the build, well, from these two, my pick is the Activa 125. But this is just one factor down, and we still have 4 to go, so let's move to the next factor, which is the specs. Well, specs are just for reference, and I'm not going to bore you with it, and therefore here is the engine specs of both these 124cc scooters. And here, as you can see, the power is better with the Access 125, but the torque on the other hand is slightly higher with the Activa 125. But both the engines are now FI engines. For the overall dimensions, the Access 125 is a bit more compact scooter with a wider wheelbase than the Activa 125, but for the ground clearance, the Activa 125 has the upper hand at 169mm compared to the Access 125, which has 160mm clearance. And for the curb mass, the Activa is the heavier of the two, weighing 111 kilograms. And also for the fuel tank capacity, well, the Activa 125 has the upper hand with a 5.3-liter tank compared to the 5-liter tank in the Access 125. Then for the tires used, well, both the scooters have the same tire measurement, where both are using a 12-inch rim just in the front, where on the rear it's a 10-inch rim. And for the brakes used, well, it depends on the model you get with both the scooters, and what's common is that the front in both these scooters can either be drum or disc, and the rear is drum. And for the models shown here, well, it's the top variant of both these scooters, and therefore the front is disc and the rear is drum in both of them. And also as a standard, in the Activa 125 there is CBS or combi braking system, and in the Access 125 there is combined braking system. What CBS and combined braking system does is the same thing, and what it is that when you press the rear brake, both the front and rear are applied together for better stopping. And finally for the suspensions, for the Access 125 the front is telescopic and the rear is swing arm, and in the Activa 125 the front is telescopic and the rear is 3-step adjustable spring-loaded hydraulic one. Now here with this factor, there isn't much to differentiate. The third factor, which is the ride quality and comfort, will help us to get more insight. And let's start with the Access 125 first. Well, here with the Access, the 124cc engine used is a good one in terms of refinement, and you can feel it the moment you take the scooter for a ride. Adjusting the accelerator gives you the feel of the engine quality, and the engine is a smooth one. But what has really impressed me the most is not these things, but it's actually the performance. I was shocked to see how well the engine responds, and the acceleration is by far the best one in any 125cc scooters I have tested, period. It has really good pickup, and therefore within no time the scooter will hit the 60 mark. And because of that, hitting the 80 to 90 mark was just a piece of cake for the Access 125. And I feel it's all because of the really good engine, and to an extent the light nature of the scooter too. And if anyone is doubtful about the stability, well, even though it's a lightweight scooter, it's a very stable one even in the 80 km/h mark. I feel Suzuki has set everything pretty well, so that even while you're in the 80 to 85 or even in the 90 km/h mark, the engine wasn't stressed, and also there wasn't any vibrations or disturbance from any parts. And therefore, based on the engine performance and overall ride quality, I loved it in the new Access 125 BS-6. And actually that's the case with the ride comfort too. Well, the seat height is a bit on the low side, and initially when I stepped in I could feel it, but here since the footboard is long and wide enough with really long and wide seat having good cushioning, the seating was really comfortable. And that combined with the upright riding posture made the overall riding experience an enjoyable one. And that's the same thing for the pillion too. The seat is a very comfortable one for the pillion, and also since the suspensions used are moderately soft set, even while riding through bad road conditions, the experience was stress free. And also since the scooter is a light and compact one, well, the ride control was also very good. I could easily get through traffic and also take a quick U-turn. So all of this together made the ride quality and comfort pretty great in the new Access 125 BS-6. And now let's check the Activa 125 BS-6. and here the initial impressions is silently impressive. This engine is next level in terms of refinement. I mean, for me, this felt to be the best refined engine in any 125cc scooters, and therefore for refinement out of these two scooters, the Activa 125 is obviously better. But being refined and smooth doesn't mean the performance should be the best, and here with the Activa 125 BS-6, well, even though the performance is good compared to the Access 125 BS-6, well, the Access is the better one. Here with the Activa, well, the scooter does gain speed quickly, but still it takes more time to hit the 60 mark compared to the Access. And because of that, during testing, I did drive mostly in the 0 to 70 range, and in that, the ride quality is excellent. There wasn't any vibrations or disturbance, and also the engine was smooth, and that's the same thing even to a speed up to 80 km per hour. And about that, there is slight stress, but I didn't push much further. Now overall from the ride, what I've noticed with the Activa 125 is that there is no competition in terms of engine refinement and smoothness, but in terms of engine performance, the Access is the best. And for the Activa, the ride comfort side is also well done. Here the seat height is more than the seat height of the Access, but for me, my foot stayed well planted in the ground, and also the footboard was wide enough for me. And for the seats, well, here also the seat measurement is good, but for the cushioning, it was a bit more stiff compared to the seat in the Access. But still the seating comfort was good for both the rider and the pillion, and also the rider gets a very upright riding posture. And that all combined with good quality suspension, which is actually a bit more soft set in the Activa 125, did give a good ride comfort. Now from these two scooters, based on ride comfort, well, both have their pros and cons, and what I felt is that the Access is better suited for wider range of riders, both in terms of height and physique, and also the seat used is slightly more better. And about the Activa 125, well, since the scooter is a bit more bulky compared to the Access, and also since the seat height is more high, well, it's not targeting that wider rider spectrum like the Access based on height, and here with the Activa, well, the suspensions used actually felt better than the suspensions in the Access. And now for the braking, well, it's not a great braking system in both the scooters, but still at a speed range in the 0 to 70 mark, both the scooters did stop well without any issues, and even though the Activa was a slightly heavier scooter, I didn't notice that much difference. So overall from this factor, picking one solely depends on your purpose. If you want the best performance, there is no doubt you should go for the Access 125 BS-6. But if you want the best refinement and smoothness, Activa has no competition. But for us, it's still not time to pick one because there are a couple of factors left, and let's move to the fourth factor, which is the mileage. Well, here both the scooters are mileage efficient than their previous versions because of the new BS-6 FI engine, and during our testing, the Activa 125 BS-6 gave a mileage of approximately 55 to 58 km per liter in varying riding conditions, and the Access 125 BS-6 gave a mileage of 59 to 61 km per liter. Now here the Access got slightly better mileage, but always please do keep in mind that the mileage might be different for you because like I always say, mileage depends on riding conditions and also very importantly the way you ride. So now to a last factor, the price. Well, this factor is a bit complex because there are a lot of models available for both the scooters, and especially for the Access, there are plenty of options. But one thing when you check the price list is that the base variant pricing of both these scooters are almost same, but for the top variant, the Access 125 is actually cheaper. And what I feel is that the top variant is the one that matters the most because usually there is a lot of compromise done in features and safety in the base variant. Well, I guess that's everything for this comparison between these two scooters. They both are really good ones, and even though with BS-6 the price has gone up, I feel BS-6 update was very much needed in every sense. And here from these two scooters, which one should you buy? Well, to put it simple, keeping the design factor aside, if you want the best performance with a lot of convenience, especially in the storage side, and also a lot of flexibility where the scooter does suit well for multiple riders, and also you want very slightly better mileage, well then the better option from these two is the Access 125 BS-6. But on the other hand, what you need is the best refinement and smoothness from starting the scooter to riding, and also based on durability, you want that confidence of the metal, and also you want the best possible features that always works as intended, then the one for you is the Activa 125 BS-6. Now the pricing is very important, and for the pricing, well if you go for the top variant, there is sure differences, but since there are a lot of options from the two, that factor is a bit complicated. Now for me, from these two, my pick is the Access 125 BS-6, and the main reason for that is the performance and the spacing available, and also the slightly lesser price tag. But I really love the refinement of the Activa and also the idle start-stop feature along with the useful external fuel inlet. That's all for this video guys, hope you liked it. And before you go, I would love to know which one from the two is your pick, and also if you like the video, it would be much appreciated if you can hit the like button, and if you want to see more such contents, a sub would be nice too. See you again in the next one, till then, bye.